Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era. In the beginning, the world was empty. Then appeared a male and a female god. They fell in love, and out of the divine union, the goddess laid 7 eggs at the meeting of 2 great rivers. The first 6 eggs became the 6 gods, while the 7th egg was broken unnaturally, which resulted in evil spirits. And so the Dimasas believed that they descend from these 6 gods. And such are the legends and myths that abound the Dimasa Kachari heritage. It is said that the Kacharis came from tribes belonging to the Mongoloid stock of Tibet and central China, who migrated to the northeastern India and Assam along the Brahmaputra and its tributaries. The origin of the word Kacharis is difficult to trace and mired in a number of theories. In the Brahmaputra plains, these people call themselves Bodos, and those who live in the hills call themselves the Dimasas. The Kacharis have no written records of their past. From the old legends, it is believed that the race, after entering through the modern-day Assam, kept migrating. First, they established themselves at the Brahmaputra valley, and then they moved to Kamrup, from where they were pushed towards the Dhansiri valley located at present-day Dimapur. They then moved to the Mahur valley, which is today's Maibong, and then finally settled on the valley of Barak with Khaspur as their capital. The Kacharis, who are found in the present-day Nagaland, are the Dimasas. The period when Kacharis had settled in Dimapur is supposed to be their golden age. From the ruins, one can fathom the richness of their kingdom and culture. These ruins reveal a somewhat advanced civilization.
Shubho Mostu Sri Jutto Megho Narayana Devo Hasingsa Bongsho Jato. ये स्क्रिप्ट पहले दिमासा राजा ने यूज़ किया था, लेकिन अभी आजकल दिमासा लोग क्या है वो आजकल यूज़ नहीं करता, और जो सेम स्क्रिप्ट है खासपर में भी ऐसे ही मिलता है.
These people in the beginning were animistic in their belief, but today they are predominantly Hindus. Devotees of Lord Shiva. One of their most sacred pilgrimage spots is nestled deep in the Kachar hills in a place called Panimur. But their religion is still a mix of their ancient animistic past and Hinduism. Some traces of their ancient rituals are still found today, especially when it comes to worshipping by sacrificing animals and birds, and they're praying to the Madais, their ancestral gods.
แน่หนทางแน่เจ้าที่แน่เจ้าที่มึงลงมือ
तो ये मडाई हुबा जो हम करते हैं ये इसका कोई किसी उद्देश्य लेकर हम पूजा करते हैं या तो मडाई हुबा करते हैं जैसा कि कोई काम में सफलता मिलने के लिए या तो रोग से आरोग्य लाभ करने के लिए.
The Dimasas believe that the god of a particular area controls the life of that area. These area gods have their unstructured abodes in different parts of the Dimasa land, and these abodes are known as daikos. In earlier times, the land was divided into 12 daikos. It is a concept that is still believed in theory by the people. Each daiko has a priest called the Jontai.
하급라 시리만 낭도 셔파
이거 난 좀 다가다.
지금 마음대로 파면 되지만 나라게 파라게 몰라요.
Over the 12 Jontais, there is a principal priest called the Gisya. Even today, one can see this tradition being followed in some places. The Dimasa Kacharis, or Dimasa as they are normally called, are patriarchal in nature. They have 40 male clans called Senfong and 42 female clans called Jilik. The existence of the female clans, though, is a very rare occurrence amongst the tribal societies. They have a number of rules and rites to do with their clans that they still follow today. With the advent of the modern age, many a traditional belief of the Dimasas have been swept away. But in the villages and small towns, in most cases, the life of a Dimasa is still ruled by a number of rules and customs. In the olden times, the head of the village was called the Kunang, whose office was elective but usually succeeded by his descendants. His executive powers were mainly related to the developmental works and during community festivals and celebrations, while his judicial functions involved maintaining the law and order of the village. And in the villages, that is still the case today. The Dimasas have fought hard to retain many of their ancient rituals. A living example is their practice of a ceremony called the Gerba. Of two types, it is performed to keep the village safe from all evils. On the given night, the Kunang formally closes the village gates on either end. As a sign of this ceremonial closure, he fixes 2 bamboo sticks on the ground. He then splits an egg and makes 7 deep marks on the ground with a sword, post which it is proclaimed that the whole village must remain inside and no one can go to work that day. Then all the male members of the village gather on the outskirts for the ceremonial sacrifice and feast till the opening of the gates. The Dimasa Kacharis are a colorful tribe, and it is reflected in their traditional dresses and dances. Their costumes include a piece of cloth about 3 feet in breadth called the risha, which is mainly worn by the men, and it is generally green or white colored, and an upper cloth called the rimsao. While the women wear a traditional skirt called rigu and an upper covering called the rijamfal. Fond of jewelry, there are some pieces that are considered essential for the Dimasas, like the sondarva. Music and dance are an important part of their life. Dances like the Hansingba might be repetitive, but the rhythmic beats never fail to charm. As the beat of the drums called krams start along with the muris or wooden pipes, the youths in their traditional attires begin their dance in a circle. Without any song, the dancers mainly use just pleasant sounds. And with many variation, each movement has a special meaning.
हमारा जो डिमासा नृत्य, उसी नृत्यों का बीच में बहुत सारे कई प्रकार की नृत्य होता है, जैसे कि उसमें से जौबानी, जौफिनवानी। जौबानी जो होता है वो पूरा सर्कल से होता है, और जौफिनवानी जो है वो सेमी सर्कल से होता है।
Like in every other society and culture, the Dimasas have their own rituals and unique way when it comes to marriages, births, deaths, etc. Generally, marriages are done by negotiation between two families. It all starts in a ritual called the Semju Dansingba, where the boy's family carry with them a bundle of salt wrapped in plantain leaves and tied with 7 strings when they go to visit a prospective bride's house. After the negotiations, the boy's party offers the bundle to the girl's parents, and if the bundle is accepted, it means the marriage is settled and the dates are fixed. The Dimasa marriage ceremony is done the Hindu way, with the fire being an important element. Like the marriages, even their death ceremony is elaborate and ritualistic. After the body is cremated, certain rituals have to be performed by the family. So long as the rituals are not completed, a temporary structure is built at the burial ground, inside of which all things dear to the departed soul are placed and daily offerings are made. Once the rituals are finished, a memorial tomb is constructed at a site slightly away from the village. When it comes to their villages, the Dimasas have a tendency to live on the banks of rivers and streams. In Dimasa, the village system is called Nablai, which means a cluster of about 30 to 40 houses. The houses are hall types with timber, bamboo, thatch and ekra being used traditionally, and the walls are generally plastered with mud, though today many corrugated tin roofs can be seen. The hall is divided into 2 chambers by a partition wall. An important part of their household is their granary, be it communal or individual. For the Dimasas, the granary is always in the east, and they always appease the sun god before using a new batch of grains. The Dimasas quite enjoy their staple diet of rice along with fish, meat and vegetables. Also, like many of the Naga tribes, they consume rice beer or zoo, which is generally brewed in their homes. Zoo is also a symbol of welcoming anyone who comes to their village or home, and it forms an important part of all their celebrations and festivals. The Dimasas have adapted modern life, but a major part of their being still follows the ancient rituals and traditions of their ancestors. Sports like the Riminalaiba, a game played between young men, where 2 opponents try to push each other holding a wooden bar out of a pre-drawn circle, and many others are still very popular amongst the youth. The Dimasa community is a tight-knit one and is best seen during their celebration of the Bushu festival. Bushu is basically a post-harvest festival and usually falls in the month of January every year. Bushu is celebrated either village-wise or by a group of villagers, which promotes better unity and understanding amongst the people of all ages and social status. An important part of the festival is when the young of the village go to the house of the village chief or elders. They carry with them honey and other offerings. The elders in return bless them and hope for their long life and prosperity. This is followed by feasting and merrymaking, in which the entire community participates. Bushu is of 3 types. Hangshu, which lasts for days and nights. Surem, which lasts for 3 days. And Jideb Jiba, which lasts for just a day. Like the majority of people in India, they are mainly agriculturists, with some practicing wet rice cultivation, while most practice jhoom or shifting cultivation. Due to the population growth and the resulting decrease in available land, Jhuming has today become an environmental hazard, with the government trying to teach other viable methods of agriculture to the people, but this method of farming still continues to be widely practiced. For the Kacharis, weaving is an important part of tribal life and is done only by the women, with many an indigenous design, pattern and technique. It is customary for a Dimasa woman to learn the art of weaving in her childhood and pass it on to her daughters. The Kacharis are also experts in the cultivation of Endi silkworms, which today is an important cottage industry. Working with bamboo and cane is another common and shared history that Dimasas have with other hill tribes. Baskets and mats, fishing traps and household articles are all made by them, and like the silk rearing, is also a cottage industry today. The building of road networks, educational and professional institutions, small cottage industries, and many other developmental schemes run by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs have resulted in the Dimasas moving into the modern world. Their life today has become a blend of the old and the new. But they are still trying to preserve and in some cases even revive some of their old traditions and cultures.
I want to be an army officer. After finishing my course, I'll come back and stay in my village. I don't want to leave my village. I'll continue staying here till my end.
This feeling of clanship and a communal awareness is something that is so visible amongst many of the Dimasa youth, and that to many of them is the essence of being a Dimasa.